Greetings! Hello, how you doing? Nice to see you, and congratulations possibly on having just bought a guitar, because I suppose if you're watching this video, it's because you are about to embark on an exciting journey. It's one of the best things I ever did, and it will definitely be a positive force in your life. So I'm really excited to be a part of this journey for you, and I want to give you loads of cool tools to sort of help you progress and become a guitarist. You know, it doesn't really matter whether you want to play lullabies to your kids or do some barbecue, jamming, karaoke, or get in a tour bus and travel around the world playing, you know, rock. It all starts at the beginning with the same information. So let's get started. I'm using an electric guitar, but almost all of the information I'm going to be giving you would also apply to a steel strung acoustic guitar. The only real difference being I've got an amplifier, so I can make myself louder or quieter or have different kinds of tones using an electric guitar amplifier. 6 strings. You can get guitars with 7, 8, 9, 12 strings and other variants, but for now I've got a 6-string electric guitar, and let's talk about really briefly some of the controls that you might not even be familiar with now. Starting with these 2 knobs. Some guitars will have 4, some will have 1, but more often than not they'll have 2 or 3. One of them will be a volume control, and one of them will be a tone control. So darker or brighter with the tone control, and louder or quieter with the volume control. You'll probably have worked that out kind of already. And these, we call them pickups. They're kind of like microphones. They take the sound from the strings, and you can choose which of them is active with this selector switch. So all the way back on this guitar, it's this pickup in what we call the bridge position. In the middle, it's a blend of both of them. And then up here, it's the neck pickup area. And this is a little bit warmer. This is a little bit brighter, and then this is a blend of the 2. And on the guitar that you've purchased, you'll find all sorts of different kinds of pickups, switching configurations, and you just want to refer to your manual or the guitar brand's website and published information to find out what it does. Every guitar is a bit different, and that's why it's so important to have hundreds of guitars. After all, he who dies with the most guitars wins. So, I'm just joking. One guitar is enough. So, how do we play the guitar? Really simple, basic information. To begin with, let's talk about how we sit, because when you learn, you're likely to be sat rather than stood up, although eventually I would urge you to do the majority of your practice stood up if you're playing an electric guitar, so that you can feel comfortable when you perform to an audience. Otherwise, if you're used to sitting down and then you get on a stage and start playing stood up, it's going to feel really strange, alien to you. So there are 2 different ways to sit. You can either sit with it on a leg like this. I kind of call this side saddle. Do you see what I mean? So both of my legs are facing this direction, and then my guitar is resting on my right leg. I have the neck slightly elevated, and then when I put my hat, I kind of grab the neck naturally. It's really important that my elbow drops down, I don't lift my elbow up, and that my wrist is sunk. It isn't flat, like I'm offering a piece of fruit to a monkey. Imagine there's a monkey and imagine there's fruit. If my wrist is dropped, I'll be able to play the guitar and I won't damage myself. The next thing that's really important is that you relax your shoulder, because a lot of people, when they're focused on doing something with fine motor skills on the left hand, everything gets raised up and tense from the shoulder down, and it can give you pain in your neck and your shoulder. So we just want to be relaxed, basically. Breathing normally, relax the shoulder, sink the elbow, sink the wrist. And then you'll find at a certain point, if you take your thumb and drop the wrist, the thumb will sink behind the neck. Now, this position of your thumb is really the key to unlocking your ability to play chords. Because you can touch the strings and press them down with your thumb in any position, but many of the chords that you will want to learn to play to begin with, for example, some kinds of F chord, you'll only really be able to do with your thumb dropped down. And the only way to drop your thumb down is to sink the wrist down. You see this? With the wrist up, my thumb comes over the top. With my wrist down, my thumb comes behind the neck. And you really want your thumb to be in line with your tallest finger. So my tallest finger is my swearing finger, second finger, whatever you want to call it. And if I bring my thumb up so it's the same height, that's a comfortable, we'd say, ergonomic grip. It is possible to play chords with your thumb over the neck as well. There are many chords that I would play that way, but it's really important to begin with to learn to sink the wrist so that you can play what we call a bar chord. It's going to make things so much easier for you. So let's start by simply fretting one note. You're going to play, maybe you're going to play your first note ever, which is really exciting to me. Let's take the G string. So each string has a name given to it by the note that it's tuned to. I'm in standard tuning, and what I'll do now is just give you some standard tuning notes. So here's the E string. Here is the A string. Here is the D string. Here is the G string. Here's the B string. And here's the E string. So you can rewind, we're not using tape anymore, you can go back and play those notes and try and make your strings sound the same, or go and get yourself a really nice, easy to use tuning pedal or headstock tuner or whatever preferred method that you have to tune your guitar. To begin with, you might find tuning difficult because you're using your ears, turning the tuning area here to make it sound the same, or matching a needle with the sound of the strings, but I promise you it gets so much easier with time. And I would recommend every morning play your guitar for a bit, tune it, play it again, tune it, and just get used to tuning your guitar as part of your practice method, even as far as to detune the strings and then practice tuning it from scratch. That will really help you, because the most frustration I see in students comes from an inability to quickly tune a guitar, or to have the hand in a correct position to play something that sounds nice. Anyway, let's fret a note. So we're going to use the G string, which is our fourth string down, and we're going to look at the third fret. So the frets are these metal strips that run across the fretboard, and it's important that when you place a finger to fret a note, that you don't place the finger directly on top of the fret. If you do, the string it'll buzz in a really unpleasant way. What you really want is the finger just behind the fret wire, pressing just hard enough for the string to sound a note against the fret, and it will sound good. If you keep going back and put your finger in the middle of these two frets, again it will sound bad and it can buzz. So where you put your finger needs to be right up against that fret wire. So to start with, rest your finger gently on the string, just gently touching the string, and I want you to pick the G string with either a finger or a plectrum, whatever you're using, and you'll hear it click like that. It'll kind of go click, and then as you press down the string until it just touches that fret wire, it'll make a note. And it's important to learn how much strength you need to apply for the note to sound, because it's really easy for beginners to be overly strong, apply too much strength, and then you can hurt yourself or find that it's really hard because you're applying too much strength. So just play the string and press gently until it sounds like this. And once you've found how much energy to put in to make it ring, that's all you need to do. If you press any harder, the note won't sound any better. In fact, it will alter the tuning of that note. If I press too hard, did you hear the note went up slightly? It pitched higher. So for tuning stability, it's important to play gently, but also for the longevity of your hands, your fingers, your wrist. Enough strength is enough strength. We don't need to press any harder. So that may be your first ever note, and I'm excited if it is. This being the G string, then we would have, if you know your musical alphabet, if you don't, then I'll talk you through it. So from G, the open string being G, this would be a G sharp, A sharp. So we played an A sharp note. If you don't know the musical alphabet, the notes, then Google them. You'll find them everywhere. There's loads of information on Google that will be useful for you. It runs A all the way through to G, and then it loops in a circle, and there are additions to that. Now that you've played your first note, why don't we play your first chord? That would be kind of cool. So with the same method of playing a note, let's put the first finger on the first fret G string. So the same string, we're just going to go back 2 frets. And then I want you to take your second finger and third finger and try and place them on the second fret A string and D string. Now you'll notice that it's impossible to place your second finger and your third finger right in exactly the same place behind that fret, but just do the best that you can. And when they're all pressing down, your thumb is okay to be on top, by the way, here, although you can bring it down if you'd like. Strum all of the strings. And it's really important to bring the thumb down enough that the underside of your first finger lifts and allows the B and the E string to ring openly. And that's your first chord. This is an E major chord. And it's a really cool chord because you can do some very simple things with it to allow different kinds of sound, or you can move it really simply to change the structure of the chord, or to play a completely different chord using the same configuration of fingers. Let me show you how. So for example, if you just take off your first finger and play the same chord, that's an E minor chord. Placing the finger back on that first fret G string gives you E major. If you take this formation of fingering and bring every finger down 1 string and then strum all of the strings with the exception of this E string, you'll get an A minor chord. Bring them back up, it's an E major. So you see, tiny little changes make a big difference to how the chord sounds. You can even take this chord shape and shift every fret along 1 and get an interesting, different kind of chord. Do it again. Do it again. It creates tension and it kind of suspends a feeling around the chord. So that might be your first chord, which again is really exciting. First note, first chord. You've learnt to play E major, E minor, A minor. So to begin with, that's a lot of information. I'll just add to this, if you wanted to take this chord, E major, and you wanted to play, I don't know, maybe A major, you can take this shape, but play it with these 3 fingers instead. So your second finger, third finger, and little finger on exactly the same frets and notes. Shift it along, 1, 2, 3. And then this first finger is going to play the role of the nut at the end of the guitar. When you were down here, this nut was allowing the open strings to play a note. Those two and that one. But if you imagine your finger becomes the nut and you shift it along 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, now you're playing an A major chord. But to do this, you really need to have your thumb down the back of the guitar neck, wrist is sunk, everything is relaxed, and your first finger just rests gently on the strings behind this formation, and you press down just enough until you feel the strings touching the fret wire, and then play the whole thing. If you go back 2, you're playing a G major. Go back 2 more, you're playing an F major. Go back 1 more, take your finger off, you're playing an E major. So this finger is playing the role of the nut. We call it a barré or a bar. People call it a bar chord. And often this F-shaped chord is the single stumbling block of most beginners. They get as far as this and they go, oh, I can't do it. I'll change to a different chord shape and they use this kind of shape instead. But using a bar is really useful going forward for playing all sorts of different kind of chord shapes. It's a really useful technique, and it's all about that thumb down the back of the neck, lots and lots of practice. And if you really get stuck, just press down the finger, forget the other fingers in the chord, and just try and sound the individual notes of the bar. Anyway, good luck. It's an exciting and really cool thing to begin. If you get any problems, any issues, I highly recommend that you get a real life guitar teacher. Go and find someone in your local vicinity area that can teach you, and if you get any real issues, then you can always look up online. There are loads of really great guitar teachers on YouTube with tons of information that will help, and obviously you can post in the comment section below, and maybe if you have a problem, I'll be able to help you. Please give this a like if you enjoyed it. Take it easy and see you soon. Bye.